all feel like we're good friends in here, which we are, and then we'll open it up right away to questions that you have, because you are the fans and you are the ones that make places like this and days like this possible. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much. Seriously, such nice people. That's one of the things I'm going to miss the most about our show finishing this season is I hope I wasn't breaking that news to anybody. I have disappointed a couple of fans today. Yeah, I won't tell you how it ends, but it is our last year. I will just say I'm really excited that at least we knew it was going to be the last year, so we got to have an ending, not just stolen off the air, so that's been really great. But I'll miss being able to talk to all of you regularly, because the interpretations of the show and people's own creativity and imagination, the fan art that you guys do, has just been so rewarding. So thank you for 5 great years of being on the air. I'll start that with
over the last 5 years, and just so many great, I'm sure, amazing moments stand out to you. I think everybody in this room would love to know, what was your favorite brain to be on?
I'm only going to upset writers, fans, the directors of each episode. It's a really hard, tricky question to answer. It's like, so I keep saying to people, it's like you're trying to choose your favorite child. You really do upset a lot of people. But there have been lots of, the variety has been like the best thing about the job. Being able to play all these different things and inhabit someone new each week. Some of the ones that stand out to me today, I would say Dungeons and Dragons brain. That was really fun. Got a couple of D&Ders around here. Yeah. And I loved frat boy brain. Probably my truest nature. And I really loved the salsa dancing brain that I was on this week. So if anybody saw that, that was one of my favorites. Yeah.
Love that.
Thank you.
Now, you go through a pretty dramatic transformation in the makeup chair every day when you come in and go to work. Now, because of that, are fans still able to spot you on the street, or can you walk into Target and buy a cart full and come back out and no one even knew?
I don't think anyone really cares. I mean, it's
in
a nice way. I mean, you like the show, that's what you should like. It's not, you know, I mean, I'm not Liv. Like, ultimately, I love playing her, but I'm excited that people can kind of distinguish, and I can enjoy Liv just as much as you guys can, because it's this thing that has been built by a whole village of people. It's not just me, it's the writers, it's our costume and makeup, it's the directors each week and the cast around me. I have the best cast mates in the business. So yeah, I feel like not that many people tend to know. I also sound a little bit weird, so I don't really think when I talk that I'm Liv.
True. No, it's beautiful. Now, you were talking about castmates and the relationship that you have with those, and can you just ruminate on what some of that's like for you, working with Malcolm, and just kind of talk about that a little bit? What's life like both on and off set for you?
Well, when you're on set on a TV show that shoots for such a significant part of each year, you're spending more time with those people than your family or kind of anybody else. So we're close. We are all very close. We're so lucky that we don't have a lemon in the group. There's not like one person that we don't want, you know, that we don't feel very close to. So we've really watched each other grow. 5 years is a lot. You know, there've been all sorts of life changes and stuff. You get very close, and we still had fun till the last day on set. We still like made each other laugh all day, every day, and you know, you get tired sometimes. You see every side of everyone, but it's like a family, and I really miss them. I really miss them. We need to get them out to some more of these conventions. I know, I'm going to put the pressure on. I'll start being, I'm a bit the mum in the group. I've really laid a smack down.
You need to come back too.
Huh?
You need to come back too.
Exactly. Oh, I'll come back if you have me. Thank you.
So we are at season 5, and anything can happen in that final wrap up. And you know, we're not asking for too many spoilers or anything, but let's talk love. Can we be expecting to see some major things happen?
All I said was I don't want Liv and Major to get back together if it's the same fate that has happened to the rest of her boyfriends. I really like Ray Buckley. I'm not trying to kill him off. So you know, look, I have my hopes as Rose for the character, but it's also about what a whole writer's room and their vision put into it as well. So I was very happy with the way that things worked out, and I think it's much more nuanced and interesting than anybody could ever predict. And I think that's the whole season, really. There's no black and whites that you will predict or anticipate and how it's going to turn out. We kept being threatened by the writers' room like each week, you guys better be on your best behaviour, we know we're not being renewed, so any one of you could die at any moment.
Okay. Gift cards are welcome.
Exactly, exactly. But no, there's lots of interesting surprises. I'm really happy that we kind of explore a lot more about Liv's family as well, as one of the things that I had been wondering about from the show. So yeah, and there's certainly a journey for her with relationships, yeah.
Now I have one more question for you before we turn it over to audiences. So Donna, if you want to kind of help us begin to organize lines for our audience Q&A. There are a lot of sides to you as a human, as an actor, and as a woman, and one of the other projects that you've been working on. Tell us a little about the Christmas trilogy. You know, Alex Sam actually is a friend of mine. I love that you worked with him.
Yeah,
so,
Alex Sam directed the first Christmas Prince, the films that I did a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
That has been such a fun and surprising journey. It was one of those films that seemed to really land with people. I know I like to watch a Christmas film while I do a jigsaw puzzle, so I get it, but I didn't realize how many people would kind of need that, I think, right now. So we've had a good time. We just made the third one for people who've been watching. It is a royal baby this year. So it's a pretty different project to iZombie, but I've been really lucky in my career that I've been able to kind of sort of dabble in with each different genre, and I hope to continue doing that. That's my favorite way to work.
I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have a first question ready? Go ahead.
Hi. What was it like having to learn the salsa routine?
It was, with all of the brains that I would be given on iZombie, you kind of really get about a week to prepare because you're shooting, so at that time I was shooting the fitness guru, and then we were going to rehearsals in the evening to try to learn the dance, and Raul has never danced before really. I mean, he can groove, sure, but he had not learned a routine. So I was like nervous for him, and that guy pulled it out. He did such a good job. I was really, really impressed, and he had a really busy schedule the episode before too. So we did our best, and we worked with an amazing choreographer called Heather. But it can be a little tricky to kind of prep one character and play the other at the same time. So sometimes there are limitations with that. It's fun though. I love dancing. It's fun. Thank you.
Hi. Hello. Liv has to have, she makes creative dishes every time she eats brain. Does that help you cook at all?
I've used pretty dissimilar ingredients most of the time. Never say never, but it's inspiring because you kind of realize that all the writers each week would have such a field day making up those brain recipes. They came up with the ideas, and they always tie into whatever I'm making. Sometimes it's obvious, and sometimes it's not at all. Like, I gave an example today that the gossip brain that I was on, you'll notice in the cooking montage I'm like stirring a pot. Or white wrapper brain, it was a white wrap that I had my brains in. But a lot of people, if you're not looking out for the puns, it's because they're not spoken, you don't always see them. But yeah, it made me think about the creativity that goes into cooking a lot, and I enjoy it. I'm getting more adventurous, trying to get my boyfriend to eat. He thinks that there's portion issues with some of the food I make. I'm like, a salad for dinner, and he's like, that's not dinner. Because I'm gonna have a big dessert afterwards. I spread it out. Kind of an underwhelming plate, I think, my cooking. So anyway, I'm learning. Thank you.
Hi, first of all, you're my favorite character on iZombie, and I have two questions, that's okay? My first question is, what is your favorite part about MegaCon? And my second question is, how sick of you are eating like the fake brains?
I'll answer them in reverse order. I'm definitely not a big fan of fake brains anymore. I've had my fill. Actually, Diane Ruggiero-Wright, our brilliant co-creator, was tweeting the other day being like, when are you going to work with me again? And I was like, well, as long as there's no more gelatin, I'm totally down. It's a weirdly unappealing part of the job. But every single other part of that job I loved, so I can't really complain. What was I saying? Oh, my favourite thing about MegaCon, getting to meet all you guys, honestly, it's really nice. We make this thing up in Vancouver where there's a lot of rain, and we're in the studio a lot, and we don't get to kind of interact on the level. It's not like doing a play where you get an audience to respond. So getting to come here and hear people talk about the episodes they like, and people in cosplays, amazing cosplays, the creativity of like the fan art, that stuff, it really blows my mind, and it's a privilege. And I've got to say, people here are very friendly. This is like a warm place, and a warm place too. So. Thank you.
Well, hello.
See, speak of the devil, look at this amazing live.
You gotta run Prep Boy Brain, right? Thank you. So, are there any upcoming projects that either you're working on now, that you finished up, that you're really excited about?
So I did a musical in New Zealand last year, which I'm really proud of. It's a New Zealand story. It's set through like the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even into the 90s a little bit. So it's a very, very different project. I get to sing, I get to kind of tell a story that's a bit of an epic. It goes over a long time. That's pretty special to me, and that'll be out here hopefully later in the year. They're just working out their distribution, but it's out in New Zealand and Australia, and the soundtrack's online. You can listen to that on iTunes, I think. So that was really cool. It was a different, it's called Daffodils. Daffodils. It's yeah, it's pretty special. So that's kind of the biggest one that comes to mind, and the third Christmas Prince, and now I'm just looking for jobs, so taking submissions. Anybody got a spec script in their pocket? Bring it up. Honestly. Thank you.
Hi Rose, my question is,
You look like a Tinkerbell. Look at your little green dress, I love it.
well, the one that had the mashup earlier.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Oh, you look completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
But my question is, would you work with Jennifer Morrison again? And if you did, what kind of project would you like to see you guys do?
Oh, I'd love to work with Jennifer Morrison again. She's a great friend of mine. I'm already on her case about it. I'm like, you know, if you need a sister for anything, I feel like we've been compared before in our little round faces, so maybe we could play sisters on something. That would be amazing. And also, I mean, she's a director. We worked together on a short film that she did. I'd love to work with her again in that capacity too, see her thrive. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi. With all the different personalities, I guess, brains you've worked on, how do you get to stay to that character? Like, is it difficult? Is it sometimes hard to like stick to a certain like brain? Like, sometimes you like switch on and off, or?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you kind of lose your mind a little bit. The first day on a brain is always very weird, especially because I'll have come from the day before being on the brain before. So, you know, Monday I'll be finishing something up, and I come in on Tuesday, and it's just very disorienting. You know, you're trying to embody something new, and it can be slightly intimidating. I have a really great crew and cast around me that help bounce ideas and sort of rein me in when I get a little carried away, which happens. But no, it is a very unusual environment and a way to work, and especially just at the pace that television works. But yeah, I enjoy that. I mean, that's been the blessing of being Liv. You get to kind of tap into all these different versions of yourself. And I think that Liv is like, you know, it's a heightened version of it, but we all have different people that we are inside ourselves, like, you know, the way I react or talk to my mum and dad, or the person I am around my school friends or colleagues, or you're just different in different environments. So Liv's version is a sort of nitro version of that, but yeah, it's kind of what we all do every day anyway, to an extent, and it's just about like really focusing in and trying to find some truth in something that could otherwise be quite silly, you know. Yeah. Thank you. Question. Oh my gosh, incredible! Right. Look at this! Woo!
Thank you.
Congratulations.
My question is, on any of the projects you've done, like plays or any of your screen work, do you take home souvenirs, or are there any souvenirs you want to take home from iZombie that you haven't already?
Let me think. I do take little things home. There's funny things I take, like I've got photos of Ali, who played Peyton, and I, that we always had on the fridge throughout the entire series. we took those photos home and we've got them on our own fridges now. Little things that are kind of easy without being like overbearing, like welcome to my house, I live more. I just, that's not my MO, but I do love like little gestures and little pieces. There will be, yeah, sometimes like a book or something from a project, but I feel like the memories are so much more. I'm not really an object person as much. I'm more like the kind of years of memories that I've got with these people and the rapport. I had Malcolm and his wife over to dinner last week, and it was just nice to, like, yeah, to be able to talk about those things. The stories of it all are the most important things I take away. Thank you.
How did it feel to play a zombie in the beginning?
I never thought of playing Liv as playing a zombie, really. I always tried to think of playing somebody who felt like an outsider, which I hope is what a lot of people take away. I mean, sure, there are times when she rages out and she's growling, and that was like a heightened thing, but most of the time I just felt like we've all had these big identity crises in our life, or are going to, and that's just part of it, and feeling like a minority in some sense. Lots of people, what moves me so much about our show is it's a zombie comedy, sort of could be just such a silly thing, but it's just got so much heart, I hope, and for me it did anyway. I was always moved thinking of different, like when I get to talk to fans who feel like they've been represented, and you'd never believe the people who felt like they were represented by this zombie, people who've kind of come up against their own trying circumstances in their life, and so I found it, yeah, that was more what I focused on. She happens to growl, but where's your voice out? That's all I'll say on growling.
Can I ask a second follow-up question to that? You know, you talked about, you know, when Liv has her transformation, growling and all that. We've all seen that after it's gone through the beautiful work that you do, and it's gone through visual effects, and it's gone through sound. So what we see is that finished product. Can you talk about what it's like to film that when it's just you and your imagination in front of the camera right before that stuff happens? What that's like when you're filming that?
It's quite, with those sorts of parts, like it's, I like anchoring Liv most of the time in very, very real things, and these heightened things where it's kind of animalic, like for playing a zombie it's that, but also in other jobs you might kind of have a very heightened, surreal scene or something. You really have to let go, like you can't try to control that too much, because the more self-conscious you are and the more self-aware you are about it all, the weaker it is. So you sound pretty weird. I mean, I will give you that. It's like trusting that you have a group of people that, you know, respect what you're trying to do and will watch you fail as well, because you don't always get it right. And sometimes, you know, you'll end up in hysterics because it was just a disaster. But other times it's like you kind of, you get to get lost in it, and that's really fun. That's another escape. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi. What was the hardest brain you've been on in the show?
I didn't like being on the bigot's brain, the guy, the Archie Bunker kind of brain. I found him really mean. I know he had his reasons, and I think it's important to think about that. You know, he was suffering from chronic pain, and I can understand that, but just to play, it was less like, I'm an actor, I like to be liked, you know? So it wasn't a very likable character to me. But I think I should be testing myself. The next thing I do, I would love to be a villain, because I feel like I need to lean into that a little more and just be okay with representing something in a story that isn't necessarily the hero. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
I was wondering, with the popularity of the show, do you ever feel like there ever be like any spin-offs or even a movie though about it though?
Your voice to God is. We're like hoping. I would love to do a film spin-off down the line. I feel like Veronica Mars is obviously like our big sister project that we look up to so much, and I'm so excited for the reboot that's coming out. But I think that, yeah, like the way they did it, they waited, they gave it time for the story to digest. There has been no talk of it, but other than me being like, oh no, let's look at that together. So we'll see in a few years' time. I would love to sort of at least, I'm definitely very open to the idea. I think that the story, the way the story is tied up, has set itself to it's a beautiful ending, and I think the idea of rebooting the series anytime soon would be very, would weaken what we've done. But I do think, yeah, a film or some sort of one-off escapade or a crossover or something would be really cool. Thank you.
Okay, hi. So I have like a two-part question. I don't know. So I recently finished watching you in Madman's Quest, and you did a bunch of acrobatic tricks, and then I saw last Thursday night's episode, and you did like splits and everything. So how did you learn to do that, and what's your favorite like gymnastic trick to do?
I think it's pretty funny the way the writers didn't ask me if I could do anything before. I'm not joking. They, like, before we started, when I booked the show, it was like the first character who I take on is somebody who's a kleptomaniac and speaks a little Romanian, and those were things that I could workshop and learn in a week. But everything else, they'll be like, so how's your martial arts? I'm like, what? Okay, I think, well, try. And there was one funny moment that I feel safe saying now. This is actually, it's not a spoiler, but nobody else knows this. Later in the final season, Diane, our co-creator, rang me and was like, hey, so how would you feel about eating the brain of an Olympic gymnast? Can you do cartwheels and stuff? And I was like, it's a difference between doing cartwheels and being an Olympic gymnast. I was like, look, if you want to do like a close-up on my head and then cut away with a stunt woman like flipping everywhere, go for it, love that. But I'm going to draw a line. I'm not going to try to be an Olympic gymnast. So that one got nixed actually. But other than that, yeah, we just sort of rolled the dice each week, and they kind of kept pushing it and seeing what they could get away with. I'm sure we didn't pull it off every time, and but it's always been fun and a great challenge. I'll never get to do a job so stimulating again. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I did some dancing growing up. They didn't know that. I feel like I should have psyched them out with some good pranks and like just not been able to learn a routine or do anything. You know, damn it, missed opportunity. Thank you.
What was your favorite episode to film?
Dungeons and Dragons Brain was the time I laughed most on set, I'd say. Just in terms of, we were like children who'd eaten too much sugar at a birthday party. I mean, they do have these craft services trays that they carry around on set. That is just not a safe thing to have when you're overtired on hour 13. So we had eaten a lot of sugar. But we were just like bouncing off each other, getting more and more excitable, kind of trying to outact everybody to the point that the director had to be like, okay, rein it in. You guys are hamming it up a bit. But we had so much fun and laughed, and I hadn't played Dungeons and Dragons before, and I was like really hooked once we played that episode. I was like, this is fun, I could get into this. Still haven't, but will.
I have two questions. What's the most emotional scene that you ever played on iZombie, and what does Brain taste like?
Well, Brain, full disclosure, it's gelatin, it's not real brain. I know, mind blown, but it's disgusting, it's gross. They did some other things, sometimes they'd throw some shrimp or some all sorts that they kind of. The one that I actually liked was in the yogurt tubes, when you have brain tubes, they would put a cauliflower puree for me, which was like sort of just cauliflower, tomato and salt, and I liked that one. That one was quite good, but nobody else did. So then I was like demanding my own special brain tubes, and I was like, okay, I don't want that. About to be unemployed, I don't want to get a reputation. Okay, that was part two. What was part one again?
What was the most emotional?
Oh, most emotional. Oh, she's lost a couple of boyfriends. Those were both all pretty bad. There have been, I mean, for me, for Rose, I would say most emotional was our last shot we did on set in January, where we all looked around and it was the gang of us together. We filmed the last scene in our last episode on the last day, which is unusual. For those of you who don't know, we shoot out of sequence, so you often won't shoot the end of an episode at the end, but we happened to do it this time, and it was insanely emotional on set. So yeah, that would be it. Thank you.
Hi. I have two questions. One I remember, the other one was my company.
Strong.
The first one is, so you have an amazing English accent, or American accent, I guess. How did that come? Like, did you do it specifically for iZombie, or is that something you had to learn with the Christmas Prince, or?
In New Zealand, we shot a lot of international stuff. So when I was a kid, I sort of did little bits and pieces on shows when I was little. When I was like 5, I played Hercules' daughter in the TV series. That is where I really sort of broke my teeth on the accent, and I do not recommend anybody listening to that performance for an impressive American accent. It was me at 5 being like, "Mommy, Mommy." It was like a little much. But I managed to get a lot of experience doing it wrong for a long time, and that helps you get it right in the end, it turns out. So yeah, lots of projects at home. I did Power Rangers and Hercules and Xena and Legend of the Seeker and all these things that were American accents filming in New Zealand. So by the time I got to iZombie, it was old news. Thank you.
No, you're good. And then my second question, I forgot what I originally was going to ask, so I'll just ask this, I guess.
Get stuck in.
I had a kid like 9 months ago, and my
Congrats!
brain just, it doesn't, oh, you met her earlier, the cute baby.
Oh yeah. One that I didn't even get back.
Yes, yes. Oh, crap, man.
You had a baby? You had a baby?
I had a baby, there was a
Were you
brain-
watching iZombie?
Yes.
CW, Thursday nights, everyone?
Oh, so why, I don't know if you can answer, but why technically is iZombie ending? It's such a, I mean, very famous show, it's amazing, it's on Hulu, it's on TV, like, what happened?
That's so nice of you. I just, you know what, I've been saying this to people today, I would rather have 5 really good years than 7 mediocre years or something. So we had 5 good years and we were able to go out strong. Unfortunately, those decisions are made by people just way over my head. But I think that at least we knew, and that's a kind of a gift. So I really appreciate the CW letting us make a final season, and for the fans and for ourselves to be able to tie out our storylines. And yeah, we made sort of quality over quantity. I'll hope that that's why it's worked out that way. Yeah, thank you.
Hey.
Oh my goodness, wait, I haven't seen you today.
No, you haven't.
But you'd been rowdy.
Yep.
Oh, I'm so happy I got to see you tonight. Thank you.
So, I love the pranks on the show. Were there any behind-the-scenes pranks that you could tell stories about, or just fun moments?
Good question. We always prided ourselves, not to cut you down, but we prided ourselves on saying that we didn't do pranks on set because we already had fun, and sometimes we think pranks are for when you're not having fun and you have to make fun. We were always laughing anyway, and our pranks were more, I guess you could look at it that way, or that we were sort of pranking each other all day, every day. It was like there was always some little rip going on, or somebody having a go with a lot of laughs. So I felt like we didn't kind of need these heightened moments. It was just in our banter and in the way that we kind of all related to each other. I don't think if there's any, I mean, there's not pranks so much as funny accidents, is that? It's slightly different, but like, I could tell you about when Raoul and Malcolm and I were standing waiting for, so this is actually in that episode which I had a hard time with, the Archie Bunker guy. We had a lovely actress who was coming towards us on a mobility scooter, and she was supposed to be stopped by a sandbag on the ground, and as we were rolling and you know it's like second take and everything's going, she pressed the accelerator instead of the brake and she went over. Could have been a terrible story, but what happened, don't worry, it takes a really positive turn. She went and hit the accelerator, hit the sandbag, went straight over it, and it was just rocketing towards us. And what's amazing is because this is all captured on film, you see Malcolm really quickly go, like, what can I do to solve the situation? He's like on, he's ready to fix it. I, somewhat foolishly, but just jumped in front of her, like, okay, maybe, you know, I'll sort of buffer her. Raoul literally cowers. And we have gone back and watched it so many times. There's like 3 different responses. Careless, but like eager, self-preservational Raoul, and Malcolm who's just like, God, you know, he's so kind. So we've had a lot of laughs like that, but yeah, not so much pranks specifically. There were always enough things to laugh at for us. Thank you.
Fantastic story, thank you.
Thank you.
Firstly, I want to say of all the celebrities I've ever met, you are the absolute sweetest.
Aww. That's very exciting. You must have a low bar, I'm so sorry.
Now, my question is there any brain that you haven't been on that you wish you would have?
Any ideas, guys? Anybody think of anything? Honestly, like, because that's kind of where it got to. We did 60 brains or something. I think I really felt like I'd run dry. But if you know mommy brain, that might have been fun. But it was maternal brain. We did it in season 1. I know, you'll think of it, we've done it. There's nothing, can you think of any?
Rockstar brain.
We didn't do, I'm just trying to think what we've done that's close. Have we done anything close? I'm just using my giant brain out here. Rockstar brain.
I don't remember, did you guys do autism brain?
We didn't, but I think I think it's just out of it, you know, these things can be interpreted so many different ways, and I have lots of friends who are on spectrum, and I would be real, and I'm sure the writers as well, would just be really mindful of within our kind of show how that would translate.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there's ways that some really clever writers could do that with incredible sensitivity. I just think for our show, it's the same way, like we talked about, you know, it would be fun to see Liv as a child, but we didn't want Liv to eat a child's brain, you know, so there are things that make it a little bit more complicated, the writing, than, but I do like the way it didn't shy away from dealing with a lot of issues, and, you know, there's sort of, there were people on various degrees of, you know, of experiencing difficulties in life, and we really went for some of those. It's just about what's going to make people connect to Liv and not want to disassociate with her. So we didn't want to press buttons in a way that upset anybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Okay, so it's a two-part question.
There's a real theme tonight.
What's your favorite personality trait about Liv Warren, and what was the most awkward scene to film?
Personality trait about Liv that I love is her resilience. I have never seen somebody who comes up against more. Especially, I think, for me, in terms of the family, that was one that stood out. Is it's one thing to go through a really hard circumstance with the people that you've grown up with standing by you, but doing that on your own, over and over and over again, and in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, is, yeah, that's really admirable. I think she's very, very resilient, and her resilience doesn't make her tough or walled off. She stays vulnerable, but she just keeps going, which is very impressive. Yes, thank you very much. And what was the second part?
The second part is, was there an awkward scene that you
Awkward scene to film? Yeah. More than one. I guess, I mean, I feel like I've been inappropriate with so many of those cast members, like Ali, you know, with Paul Payton while I'm on the Exotic Dancer's Brain, or with Raoul when I'm on Dominatrix, or Malcolm when I'm on Dominatrix. Or, yeah, there's been a lot. I mean, I think, yeah, take your pick, really.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for answering my question. What is something that you will want to take with you from iZombie, whether it be a memory or a funny moment? What would something that you would take from iZombie?
Okay, serious note. Last season, the whole refugee storyline really, I found incredibly moving, and we had an episode where we were just dealing with people who were seeking asylum somewhere, who just needed things that were not being provided for them, and the frustration and inability of some of the people in New Seattle to give that to those people. That whole storyline and dynamic, especially with everything that's going on in the world, really moved me and made me think a lot and gave me pause. And I think that, yeah, like trying to think about compassionate ways to have those conversations in art is, like, you know, as serious as this is for a zombie fun show, I think it's really important, no matter what it is, if it's a children's book, if whatever it is, that you're still kind of trying to bring some compassion in the work that you do and some understanding to what it's like to be in somebody else's position. That's all we can do. And that goes in so many different directions, but that was one example to me that really stood out. Thank you.
So in Power Rangers RPM, how come you didn't use your New Zealand accent, but the guy who played Finn, the Blue Ranger, was allowed to use the Scottish accent?
The guy who played Flynn, Ari Boyland, was actually a New Zealander doing a Scottish accent, so I know, he does a very good Scottish accent. I think that's why they went, let's just try this out, let's use this. And they just kind of let him do something interesting, and I love it. I'm all about bringing different accents in. Hopefully we do that more and more, but I think at the time the New Zealand accent is, I love my country so much, but we have a silly accent, and it sounds very weird. So I think maybe for the untrained ear, it might have been a bit distracting in that particular world, in the Power Rangers universe. So yeah, I think, you know, maybe 5 or 10 years from now we'll get used to hearing it a bit more on a world stage, and it won't be so silly. It was voted sexiest accent in the world recently, which is just so funny to all of me and my Kiwi friends who are like, we're proud national New Zealanders, but That is just the most outrageous. I don't know who paid someone to get that. That's ludicrous. There's so many other choices. Thank you.
Hey, longtime fan, I love your work. It's amazing. I noticed you used the word crossover a little while ago. If you were to, I know your show's ending, but if you wanted to do a crossover with any show, either on CW or not, what would it be?
Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I would love to see that. Really shake them up a bit. See how it goes. Anybody's got any inroads there? Plant the seeds. See how we go. Thank you.
You would not watch it.
Thank you for being so fun and personable and just classy. You're just amazing.
You too. Thank you.
I was just wondering what was your favorite thing about filming on Once Upon a Time?
Once upon a time, I loved playing Tinkerbell. That was probably my favorite thing. I never thought that. I never thought I'd get a chance to play her. She's so cool, and the way they had imagined her as being sort of gutsy and edgy and kind of everything you don't expect of a fairy, I thought it was just a really interesting character. She's such an iconic character. Somebody that I love the story of Peter Pan and Wendy, so it was like an honor to get to do that. Yeah, I had a really special time. Would have liked to do more. It was just unfortunate we booked iZombie exactly at the same time, so the storylines got a little tricky to make work, but I really loved being on that show.
Well, you were great.
Thank you so much.
Hi. So in iZombie, there's obviously zombies. Was there ever talk of bringing in other supernatural creatures or elements or aspects into the show?
Well, I mean, if anybody who knows the comics, there are a lot of supernatural aspects to the comics, and when we started making the show, I was a little nervous because it's such a departure from the source material, but thankfully, Mike Allred and Chris Robson, who wrote and illustrated those comics, I'm such a fan of them. They have been so supportive and kind and new. They were like, I think it takes true confidence to know that their material is good enough as it is, and that us making something that moved away a little bit from that wasn't a reflection on them, it was just what was going to work for a television show, and that to me is like true confidence, that they're like, yeah, oh, shake it up a bit, it's going to work differently in that way. So huge kudos and respect to them for that, because it must be strange. It's like your little baby going and having another life, and what's that going to be? But yes, so they did have a lot more sort of supernatural characters in the comics. We tried to nod to that a couple of times in the show, like when Ravi plays video games, his character is a were-terrier, which is what it is in the comics. So there's little moments, but no, I think they kind of went, it's a big enough universe to explore, and the more they started latching onto the device of different brains and different characters, I think it might have just got a little messy and confusing. So they had enough to sink their teeth into, I think. Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to jump in here and tell you that time flies when we are having so much fun. We are going to have to bring it down to 2 more questions. And I'm sorry if you've been so patient, guys. That's just it's the rule of the road.
I'll be back tomorrow. You can come and ask
to be back tomorrow. We're going to have to wrap it after the second question that we have coming right up.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Great. Well, I love it.
Thank you. So 2 quick questions. One was, what brain is the most like Rose McIver?
Most Rose McIver, they never did like, oh actually probably the old woman, I mean old woman brains thing, but the old woman who was the golfer and kind of was a bit rich and fancy isn't so much me. It's more like I would be the old woman who's like cross-stitching and just kind of drinking tea and complaining about the noise. That's kind of a little bit more my speed. So yeah, it was a version of that, but it was most Rose.
And then also, what did you think about the New Zealand flag, the option with the bikini shooting laser beams?
The New Zealand flag?
Yeah.
Honestly, my favorite, I just wanted the Māori flag to be the New Zealand flag if there's going to be a flag. I love that, and it was a very interesting time for New Zealand politics, that whole journey, and we're still with the same flag now, so we'll see what happens. Thank you though.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi.
Hi.
Is there like a brain that one of your castmates got to play that you wish you could have done?
Oh, yes there is, but it's not out yet. What a mean last answer. I'm the worst. Yes, I will say there's like a partner brain. I'm on Private Eye, and there's another character, like I'm sort of Chinatown guy, you know, that's me. So I'm on that sprain, and then there's another character that kind of takes on a different brain persona. And I'll leave you with that, but I would have liked to explore that one too. Thank you. Thanks so much, you guys. Thank you.
This is One Broke Gamer Girl. I just want to say a big thank you for watching this video. If you liked what you just watched, then go ahead and hit that like button down below. One more thing, since you've already hit the like button down below. You've already hit the like button down below, right? Well then, why not go ahead and go one step further and leave a comment too? Since you've already hit the like button and left a comment, you did both of those already, right? Then why not just take one more tiny little step and hit the subscribe button as well? Just one more thing, since you've already come this far, would you kindly check out the links in the description? That way you can follow me on Twitter, Twitch, and maybe even check out my blog.